everyone! In today's video we'll be discussing how to lay out and structure a manga page and also the do's and don'ts that you can apply to any comic or manga page that you create. I hope you enjoyed today's video and it helps you to turn your manga into a masterpiece. So let's look at how to lay out and structure a manga page together. Every manga page has certain elements that help it to be eye-catching. These are the layout of the panels, the focus panel, and the number of panels on the page. By understanding these elements, you can create better manga pages. So in this video, we will not only look at the structure and layout and how to create really good looking manga pages, but we will also analyze some do's and don'ts based on my own manga, Having Faith. So first of all, there's panel layout. Every manga page will have a unique panel layout. The layout refers to the way the panels are placed. And when creating your manga panels, I recommend creating a storyboard so you can try different layouts before you decide on the best layout for your manga page. Use wider panels when presenting backgrounds. Use smaller panels for expressions and reactions. And try changing the panel shape, making the lines diagonal when presenting movement. Try different layouts and panel shapes until you find the best layout that best presents the scene and the story that you want to tell. Next is the focus panel. Every manga page will have a focus panel, and this is the most important panel on the page. When you are drawing the manga page, this panel needs to stand out the most. Finding a focus panel can make it easier to draw the manga page because you will know where to put the most attention. So in this particular example from my graphic novel Having Faith, you can see that this right here is the focus panel because it is the biggest panel on the page, but it's also the panel that really draws your eyes to the page. And that is what you are looking for in the focus panel. You are looking for the panel that draws your eyes to the page. There's also the number of panels on the page to consider. The most manga pages will have around 6 to 9 panels per page, but this can vary of course. However, you want to ensure that the page looks balanced and not cluttered. In this as well, some manga pages will have 2 panels if you need a lot of focus panels, so it can really vary. This is just a very general number. You want to ensure that you understand the reading direction of the page so you know which panels need to be placed where and understand where the reader's eyes will go next in order to present the panels in the best possible way. It should be clear where the reader's eyes go next if the paneling is good and well created. Now, let's look at some additional tips for creating good manga page layout. Ensure that the speech bubbles and sound effect placements help the reading direction. You want to ensure that the reader's eyes can sort of draw like an arrow to understand where the reader's eyes will go next. So you should be able to understand where the reader's eyes will go next based on the manga page and panel placement. And that will really help you when understanding where to place those manga panels and where to place the speech bubbles. But all the speech bubbles and those sound effects should support the reading direction. So ensure that you do not put the speech bubbles in a way that might confuse that reading direction. You want to make sure that the mental arrow can be clearly drawn so that the reading direction will be clear in your page. You also want to use the paneling to frame the character. The panels should work well with the character and the other elements of the page and not against it. So in this particular panel, you will see that I've used the panels to sort of frame my character Willow, and Willow is over the top of the panels. And using the panels like this will help to draw the reader's eyes to the character. But also keep in mind that you can use panels in unique ways to show the characters better. For example, right here we have a diagonal panel and the diagonal line is matching the line on Willow's back. So you want to ensure that you're using the panels in a way that helps to display the characters better and doesn't distract from them. Allow your characters to tell the story. There is so much storytelling that can be shown through your characters' expressions and body language, and understanding how to present the story in this way will help your manga pages to stand out a lot more. So focus not only on the story that is told through the dialogue, but also consider how you can tell that story without words through your characters' actions and through their body language. So now that we've looked at some ways to create good manga page layout and design, let's now look at some do's and don'ts for creating a good manga page. Do use objects to set the scene. It's important to remember that characters aren't the only important element of the scene, and objects are important too. Using objects effectively in your manga pages can help you to bring in the scene. So as you can see here, I've got Willow holding a cup, and then she puts the cup down, showing the reflection of the person who is opposite her. So this helps to bring in the scene in a unique way, but you can also see the different objects that are being used throughout the scene, which also helps to set the scene. Don't let objects or background distract in the scene. Ensure that the amount of background and objects in the page enhances the story and doesn't distract from it. So right here I have a much older page where I had 2 background shots and it does not connect with the dialogue at all. Based on the narration on the page, these 2 background scenes do not make sense. So in the final version of my book, I ended up redrawing this entire page. I added a smaller background shot here to show where the character is, and then I showed the character's expression, which displays that narration much better. So you definitely do not want to let the background distract from what is happening in the scene. Instead, you want to use the background to help the readers understand where the scene is taking place and where the main character is, but you don't want it to distract from it. Do use the paneling to frame the characters. The paneling should help to highlight the characters, and you should use your choices of panels to enhance their body language or expressions and present the characters a lot better. In this example, I placed Willow in the middle of the panels in order to show her rushing thoughts in this particular moment, and that is one way you can use paneling to sort of frame the character. But I also recommend you sort of match the characters' positioning with the panels, and you also consider how you can present the characters in the best possible way based on your choices of paneling. Don't let the paneling distract from the reading direction. The reading direction in this older page on the left is not very clear because these 2 panels up here connect with the panels down the bottom, and this can confuse the reading direction because the audience may not know that they're supposed to read these panels first and then these panels. So in the finalized page, I ended up making the reading direction much clearer. I made sure that these 2 panels were very separated from these bottom panels, and this will ensure that the readers know that they need to read these first and then these ones. So make sure that when you're creating the paneling in your manga pages, that is clear enough which panels your audience is supposed to read first. Do use expressions to subtly tell the story. In a manga, the story is only one part of the storytelling, and the expressions and body language and the things that are shown rather than told are just as important. So you need to consider how you can tell that story, not necessarily only through words. Consider how much of that story you can tell through the body language and expressions also. Don't describe everything through words alone. There is so much that can be shown through the artwork in a manga, and it's really important to find the balance between the showing and the telling in storytelling. So in this particular example, I have this much older page that did not end up making it into the final version of my book. And in this one, I felt like there was too much telling. So even though I really liked the artwork in it, there was too much telling and I felt like it really distracted from the main point of the story. I ended up using this finalized page in the final version of my book, which I felt like showed what is being described here better than describing it. So sometimes when you're creating your book, consider if you are able to show what you were telling about rather than directly saying it through the storyline, because sometimes it may be more powerful to show it through the artwork instead. Do design the panels with the characters in mind. In a manga, the panels, the characters, and the dialogue all need to work well together. Think of it like a complete masterpiece, one whole artwork, rather than separate parts. When I was creating my manga, I used to think of each panel as its own separate artwork, but I feel like it's more effective to think of the entire page as a single artwork rather than looking at them as separated parts. Don't clutter the page with too much information. Cluttered pages can be distracting, so if a page seems too cluttered, either draw more pages to separate the information or use more artwork rather than words to ensure that there's not too much writing cluttering the page. So it's important to find balance. You can have pages with more information, but ensure that it is not so cluttered that your audience doesn't know which panels they need to read first, or it might distract from the artwork that you are presenting. Do use backgrounds to support the scene. Backgrounds should work to enhance the scene, and they also help to provide setting and context to your character's actions. So in this example, I used the shadowing to sort of present Faith, who was following Willow, and present that kind of creepy atmosphere. Don't avoid the backgrounds entirely. Having no backgrounds at all can make it confusing to understand where the scene is taking place. Even a little bit of background really helps. So I have this much older page here, and as you can see, I didn't really include very much background at all. It is very hard to know where the scene is taking place. And then right here, all we have is a door behind, and so there's not really a lot of context on the page to show where the scene is taking place. So I ended up replacing it with this page where I added more background and I added more behind all of the characters to show where the scene is taking place. You don't need to include as much background as I've included here, but even just including a little bit more background can really help to show where the scene is taking place. Do use body language to convey additional information. Body language can sometimes convey even more than the dialogue can. So think about how you can show how your character is feeling in a moment based on their body language. Don't avoid the body language entirely. Body language should be used even if you don't like drawing it. I feel like my artwork improved a lot once I started regularly drawing body language and expressions in the pages. So this is a much older page, and I felt like this panel right here did not really convey much. It didn't convey how she was feeling about that moment. So in this upgraded page, you can see here, I feel like her expression conveys that a lot more, especially with her body language also. Do use screen tones and shading to enhance the scene. The shading can add a lot more feeling to a scene and create atmosphere. Don't use the same expressions every time. Practice drawing expressions because they can reveal a lot about the character and how they are feeling. So to finalize this video, I have a challenge for you. Try creating a manga page without dialogue. Use only the artwork, panels, body language, and expressions to tell the story. This can help you to train to focus on the panel layout and using those artwork elements to tell a story without words. When it comes to creating a manga, comic, or graphic novel, it's really important to understand that there are two sides to the story. There is the actual storytelling shown through the writing and the storytelling that is shown through the art. And in order to present your story effectively, you need to have a balance of both. So you need to understand how to be able to present that story through the artwork, but also when to use the dialogue in order to tell that story through words. I hope that this video today helped you to create amazing manga pages for the story you're telling. If you enjoyed this video, please share your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd really love to hear your thoughts, and I'm sure others would as well. Feel free to chat with me on any of my social media at @MinAlexCross because I always enjoy hearing from you. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!